Okay, so we just saw the formula for the midpoint on a number line and in the xy plane. It's really just an averaging. I highly suggest you use that formula because it's just easier. It's quicker, saves you some time, less headache. You want to do the least amount of work possible, just as long as you get the job done. So here I have a segment AB. I have the coordinates of A, okay, but I don't have the coordinates of B. Uh-oh. Now, they told me that the midpoint has these coordinates. So this is a question where I'm going to have to work backwards. If you're one of those students who really likes to use that method of find how long the segment is, divide by 2, and then go in a certain direction, for midpoints, I highly recommend not doing that. It can work, it's just a lot of steps, takes longer, and there's this general idea that the more steps involved in a problem, the likelihood of making a mistake is going to go up. The fewer the steps, the less likely it is that you're going to make a mistake. So what I'm going to do is look at my midpoint formula. My midpoint formula is add up x's, divide by 2, add up y's, divide by 2. That's going to give me my midpoint. Okay, so I know one of them. I know my x1 and my y1. I don't know my x2 or y2. I'm going to plug those in. So negative 6 plus x2. By the way, x1, x2, those are just names for different x's. It doesn't have to be bigger or smaller. It doesn't really matter. They're just two x values. So, okay. And 1 plus y2 all over 2. Okay, you might be going, well, Mr. Northrop, but that doesn't help me. I still don't know what x2 or y2 is. But I do know what I'm supposed to get. I'm supposed to end up with the coordinates for my midpoint. 3, 7. So these 2 points are supposed to be identical. If that's true, this x value has to be the same as this one. So we can set up the linear equation. That's why we did that review at the beginning of our class. We'll make that equal a 3 because this x equals this x. You can solve that by multiplying by 2. And you get x2, the negative 6 added to it equals 6. Add 6 on both sides. Okay, we got a 0. Nothing wrong with that. That just means that we're on the y-axis somewhere. And now I have to set up my equation to find the y values. So this y value has to equal this y value. They've got to be the same. If they're not the same, I can't put this equal sign there. That would be a false statement. So again, multiply everything by 2. Subtract a 1. Okay, so I've got my coordinates. 0, 13. So I'm going to say B has coordinates 0, 13. Now, like I said, some of you are going to want to find the length from A to this point, and then try to go in like a certain direction. I highly recommend not doing that. It's just going to take more time, and it's real easy to mix up stuff. Alright, so here's a picture where we don't have the xy plane. I know we don't have the xy plane because there aren't any coordinates anywhere. Now here they're saying find PR where Q is the midpoint. They may not have told us that. They might just say find PR. And instead of telling us that Q is a midpoint, they might have put those tick marks. That means the same thing. Those tick marks mean congruent. That means same distance. Either way, we know that Q is equidistant to P and R. It's the same distance to either one. So what I'm going to do is, I know that this is 6 minus 3x. I'm going to say that this is also 6 minus 3x. We talked about being between. If Q is between those 2 points, if I add this to this, I'm supposed to get the whole thing. So I'm going to do that. 6 minus 3x added to itself. Some of you might be thinking, couldn't I just multiply that by 2? Yeah, you can. Just be really careful with that distribution. You'll get the same exact answer. Add 6, take away 2, and so we got to divide by 20. So x is going to be a half. So we're going to be very tempted to just circle our answer and move on, because I solved the equation, I did the math problem. Oh, there's a problem. I did not answer the question they asked me. They didn't tell me to solve for x. They told me to find PR. Now I had to find what the value of x is in order to get PR, but I can't just stop at 1/2 equals x. What I've got to do is plug that in here. So PR equals 14 times whatever x is plus 2. That means PR is 7 plus 2, which is a 9. So be really careful that you answer the question that they ask you. They will try to trick you. I know that's annoying, but you just have to carefully read those directions. Okay, so this is kind of a tricky problem. Here we don't have a midpoint. So since we don't have a midpoint, we're going to use that longer technique because we don't really have a short formula. Anytime you're looking for fractional distances that aren't halves, so not a midpoint, we have to use that method of find how long it is, find the fractional distance, and we're going to have to move a certain direction. So we have to find x on CF. Okay, so CF is here to here. Okay, so there's some point x. We need to find its coordinates. That is 1/3 the distance from C to F. Now it's really important to notice they're saying start at C and head towards F. Because if they said start at F and head towards C, I'm going to get a different answer. Because it's not halfway, it's 1/3 of the way. So first I'm going to find the length of CF. Bigger minus smaller. F is at 5. C is at minus 4. So CF is 9. You can count the spaces. I highly recommend against it. It just takes longer. So I'm trying to find 1/3 of that distance, or 1/3 of that length. 1/3 of CF is the same as 1/3 of 9, which is a 3. Okay. So this tells me the distance that I need to travel. So I need to start from C and head towards F. So I'm going to go forward, or towards F, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's where X is.